Welcome to Brothers Know Best. Today, we're going to talk about the best thing in sports. We're going to play a little game. And then we're going to talk about the best game show. We're going to talk about best cars we've ever wrecked. We're going to talk about Daniel's birthday. This is a smorgasbord. We are making up for lost time from being off the last couple of weeks. So we're going to make it up today. Stay tuned. Welcome into Brothers Know Best. This is episode 11. Finley, my 13-year-old, was born on 11/11/2011. So I think this episode is dedicated to Finley. 11/11/11. Episode 11. How are we doing, boys? How are things going in the land of the Smith brothers? What's new?
I'm tired. We've been busy past couple of weeks. I'm excited to be hanging out with y'all, but you haven't been busy?
This man has been in Las Vegas. Don't let him fool you. Daniel, how have you been? People that have actually been working for a living. How have you been? I'm kidding. Michael does good work. Daniel, how have you been?
Well, guys, I don't know yet. I turn 40 next week. So I'm just going to hold that. I'm going to hold any good and positive feelings I have and wait until after my birthday.
I think Daniel's having a crisis at 40 before he's even reached 40.
Yeah.
So listen, here's the good news about turning 40, Daniel Smith. It only gets worse.
Oh, I love it.
So right now, you are the best that you will ever be right now. So just live every day as
I have thought that thought so many times in the last couple months.
Just
I
live
said, is this as good as it gets physically, mentally, emotionally?
Yes. I will say I didn't start injuring myself drinking water too hard until I turned 40. And so just be careful. The things that you have no idea that you just think are just routine in my life, when you turn 40, all of a sudden they become death traps. Oh. So if you're opening the refrigerator, I mean, just move your head out of the way. You can hit your
tear a bicep. Just right there, tear a rotator cuff.
I mean, you might hit yourself in the head with a refrigerator door. I mean, not saying that I've done that, but just, 40 is but you look good. The mustache looks great. You don't look a day over 39.
Oh, hallelujah.
Yeah. So happy birthday to Daniel coming up. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We're going to talk about the best thing in sports. What was the best thing in sports for you guys? What's happened in this dreary season with no football, no Major League Baseball, whatever the NBA is doing with their bogus All-Star game? Is there a best thing in sports? What's the best thing in sports?
Oh, it's got to be Mr. Brian Curley with the tongue out before he strikes out the batter at Kennesaw State, UGA baseball. Not to absolutely be a homer, but since the Philly Dogs won the Super Bowl, that's really the only thing I can really get excited about. That is just a gutsy, just ballsy move. Like, if you're going to stick your tongue out.
Do you want to describe what actually happened for the people who are listening, who may have not seen, who don't live in the UGA bubble that we live in?
Okay, so it's the end of the game. There's 2 outs. There's a runner on second. UGA's up, I think, 1 or 2 runs. And the closer, Brian Curley's out there. And he turns his head to check the runner at second. And he sticks that tongue out. And he gives that. I don't even know who the batter was because it doesn't matter. But he gave him the stinky cheese, man. Sent him down swinging.
Daniel, can you do the face for the people who are watching on YouTube? There. No. He turns around. We'll play the video. We'll put it in a clip, but we'll play the video if you're watching this on YouTube. We'll show you.
Can you take what Daniel just did and superimpose it over the video?
Oh yeah, for sure. What Daniel just did is going to become the new logo.
We're going to GIF it, guys.
No, but Brian Curley. Shout out to Brian Curley. I mean that. Yeah, it just, you have to be a special kind of crazy to have the game on the line, the winning run at the plate, and turn around and look at the guy on second and make a face like you're a middle school boy sticking his tongue out at his friend. Like, you just have to be a special.
Yeah, that is straight up. I love that you said middle school because no disrespect, but that is straight up middle school ball right there.
Oh yeah.
When you do something like that, because. But when you're playing at an elite level at a school that produces elite players, I can, from a coaching perspective, I'm like, if you do that crap, you better be solid. I don't
Yeah.
mind
Well,
it. I don't mind a little. I don't
Yeah.
mind a little bravado, a little macho, a little whatever.
Yeah.
But you better be solid.
You know what it was?
Yeah.
It looked like a scene from The Sandlot.
Yeah,
It just looked like a scene. It
straight
looked
out of
like
a
something
movie.
that would happen straight out of The Sandlot. So fantastic. Shout out to Brian Curley. Michael, what was your best thing in sports this week?
Well, I got a couple of things, and Daniel just reminded me. I was not going to bring it up because it's been too long since we recorded last. But in my house, we are still celebrating that Patrick Mahomes lost the Super Bowl.
He did
Thank
lose
God.
the Super Bowl.
Way to go, Eagles.
And can we be very explicit about this? Patrick Mahomes lost that Super Bowl.
Yes.
Philadelphia, that Philadelphia defense embarrassed Patrick Mahomes and that Kansas City offense.
That's right. You could say Jalen Carter and that Philly defense took the Super Bowl away from Patrick Mahomes, but I like to think of it as Patrick Mahomes losing the
Patrick Mahomes lost the Super Bowl. Shout out to Philadelphia. Shout out to Eagles fans for absolutely tearing down your city, which is just wild to me. Like, I mean, people climbing light posts and ripping traffic lights down in your city to celebrate. It is so amazing to me. It reminds me of West Virginia. This is a total left turn, but the West Virginia Mountaineers back in the early 2000s, the late 90s, early 2000s, the West Virginia Mountaineers football team, when they were good, they were ranked in like the top 5 for a number of years. When they would win a big game, that they would burn Morgantown to the ground. They would set couches on fire, like they would set cars, like it was just crazy. And Philadelphia reminds me of that. I don't get it, but y'all do y'all. Congratulations to the Eagles.
Just don't complain when your taxes go up. When they have to pay for that damage. Okay.
That's
all right.
the public.
I love that you think people who live in Philadelphia care about taxes. We'll save that for another show.
So I said I had a couple of things though. So that's one. Number 2, forgive me guys. I know it's painful, but for me, the best things happened in sports in the past couple of weeks is that Mike White and the Georgia Bulldogs basketball team just reached into that heart and grabbed whatever little bit of hope might have still been there, threw it on the ground, stomped on it, buried it, and said, you guys can move on to baseball season. So in North Point, Florida right now, your Atlanta Braves are warming up, conditioning, getting ready for some spring training.
See, Michael is the reason why I keep all those positive thoughts, and I'm just holding them until after I turn 40. Because here I was feeling good with some advice and feeling good about maybe where I'm headed. And then, I'm like, I'm just going to put that on reserve. And there he comes. But no, absolute truth.
My favorite thing about Michael saying, I'm so happy that Georgia basketball and Mike White just ripped our hearts out and let us move on to the Braves, is like the Braves aren't going to do the same thing when September comes around. I mean, come on, bro. Like we've been at this.
Lost Maxie.
We've been at this.
But bro, between now and when the Braves absolutely disappoint me, I'm going to get 160 something games of entertainment. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, we are running up the mountain with all full expectations.
Because in late September, we're still going to have hope. Right, they're still going to be there, and then they're going to collapse hard and fast.
There are guys out there right now that are running every kind of mathematical equation, and the season hasn't even started about how the Braves can make the postseason. They're already running it. They're already running it through the machine.
Get ready. Here's the Braves formula. Okay, the Braves formula. Get ready for sometime in June to calculate how many games the Braves need to win to win the NL East.
Yep.
And also have the calculation ready of how many games the Braves need to win to make the wild card. And then also have the calculation ready to, should the Braves just call it and make big trades and move on to next year? Because those 3 things in June, like the beginning of June, that's where you're going to be. Beginning of June, you're going to be like, should we just throw the season in the trash? Oh my gosh. When can we clinch the NL East in July, or what do we have to do to just make a wild card? Like that's what's
Guys,
going to
but
happen.
I will say in the 2021 season, we did that when Acuna got hurt, and we were like, just cashing in, boys, just rolling into next season, and they pulled it together.
Well,
I
Guys,
don't know how they did it, but they pulled it
we've
together.
already talked about the Braves too long, but Spencer Strider, I heard April. Guys, I heard somebody said it out loud. They said April.
Yep. You know what I heard, Michael?
What?
A wise philosopher, one of the wisest philosophers that I have ever read, listened to, heard speak, locked onto the words of. One of the wisest philosophers I've ever heard said, "It's the hope that kills you." It's the hope that kills you. All right, my best thing in sports. Did y'all realize that they still play hockey? Did y'all know that? Did you like wake up at any point in the last 2 months and have a single thought about hockey?
John, the last time I thought about hockey, I think I was about 10 years old playing Blades of Steel on a Nintendo Entertainment System.
Let's go.
Blades of Steel.
Future episode, best classic Nintendo games. Oh, that's going to be up there. Blades of Steel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can hear the music right now. I can hear the music.
You hear the blaze, shing, Blades of Steel.
That would be awesome. Listen, in the last 2 months, there has not been last 2 months. Gosh, last 5 years, there hasn't been a time that I woke up and thought about hockey. No. But can I tell you, the best thing in sports this past week was hockey. It was the United States of America versus Canada in this thing called the Four Nations Face-Off. And listen, when I first saw the Four Nations Face-Off on Saturday night, February the 15th, I think that was, I had no idea what it was. I thought legit this was like soccer, right? So you have these international friendlies and, and like teams leave and they go play for their country and whatever. I thought that's what's happening. That ain't it. This was the NHL All-Star game. This was the glorified. This is how the NHL, the way that they fixed their All-Star game that no one cared about, that no one was watching, is they actually created a international tournament where they split up their NHL players into 4 teams based off of country of origin for these guys. And so you had USA, Finland, Sweden, Canada. And USA and Canada played on Saturday night. And 9 seconds into, they dropped the puck, okay? Before the puck even hit the ice for the face-off, gloves were off, dudes were throwing fists.
Let's go.
Right? Canadians booed the national anthem. The first game was in Montreal for US versus Canada. Canadians booed the national anthem. Gloves came off. And it was Brady Tkachuk and Matthew Tkachuk, okay? This is a quick story, so just bear with us, listeners.
Okay.
Brady and Matthew are the sons of Keith Tkachuk. In 1996, in the World Cup of Hockey, Keith Tkachuk played for the United States, their father. And Claude Lemieux played for Canada, and he was like the dirtiest, like baddest player in the game. 20 seconds into a match of USA-Canada in the 1996 World Cup of Hockey, Keith Tkachuk's gloves were off and Claude Lemieux's gloves were off, and they were throwing fists. So this whole thing about they were booing the national anthem, whatever. No, it was these guys, Brady and Matthew, were paying homage to their father, who threw fists in 1996 with the best Canadian player in the world at the time. So that just lit. I mean, this was an all-star game for the NHL. Just lit the world on fire with hockey. I immediately became a hockey expert. I mean, you can just do that, like on the internet. Like you don't even have to know. And that's with anything. With anything, you just become expert in 5 minutes. I immediately became a hockey expert. I immediately tuned in. Like I'm looking at rosters. I'm figuring out like, okay, who's like, what's a line change? What's a power play? Like I'm going all in. And I went from not even thinking about hockey, period. Not even knowing that this Four Nations face-off thing even existed, to basically having the future of my kids, my hopes and dreams, the future of civilization even was riding on USA Canada, a hockey game that I didn't even know was even happening until literally like 10 minutes before the thing came on. So that was my best thing in sports this week, Canada and USA. And they played this little tournament The USA lost to Canada in overtime in an incredible hockey game, incredible environment in Boston. Some people say the USA lost, but by my calculation, the US beat Canada in the game one in Montreal. The US lost to Canada in the quote unquote final in Boston. But it's 1-1. Like, when's game 3? Like, let's
Need a rubber match.
it up. Winning game 3.
Series.
The other thing that I realized about hockey, every hockey player that plays this sport comes from about 20 miles north or south of the Canadian border. Yep. Like, I was listening to these guys. I was working, sitting on the couch, and I just had the game. You know, you have like the pregame, it's on the background, whatever.
Yeah.
And there were these interviews and stuff, and I just literally was like, oh, I'm tuning out because the Canadian guy's talking. I look up, it's an American. The Canadian coach is talking. I look up, it's an American. I'm like, what? Why does everyone sound like a Canadian in this sport? So we're going to play a little game.
What are you talking about?
Exactly. We're going to play a little game based on my best thing in sports, okay? I'm going to play a short clip of USA players, coaches, Canadian players and coaches, and I want you guys to guess if this is an American or a Canadian just by the voice, okay?
I give up.
Are you ready?
I was going to say, I thought when you went into the Kachuk, I thought that was going to be some kind of weird tongue twister. How much wood could a wood Kachuk if a wood Kachuk would? I was like, I don't know where he's going. That's a lot of Kachucking in there.
Yeah. Let me give you a little hint, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Kachuk is an American. Keith Kachuk, the dad, was born in Massachusetts. So if you think that Kachuk is a Canadian or is like a woodchuck, those are the Americans. Okay. All right. And guys with names like John Cooper are the Canadians. That's so right. Here we go.
Okay.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna play a clip. We'll play it. We'll pause for a second. I'll get an answer from each of you. I'm gonna keep score. We're gonna pick a winner.
All right.
Ready? Here we go.
Ready.
Well, yeah, there's a little discussion during the day, and
tell the truth. You can tell.
Yeah, there's a group chat going on today, and so still slept like a baby though. But well, yeah, there's a little discussion during the day, and
tell the truth. You can tell.
Yeah, there's a group chat going on today.
Okay,
Canadian or American?
Daniel, go ahead.
Canadian.
I'm
going American. That sounds like a Massachusetts accent to me.
1 point to Michael. That is American Brady Kachuk, whose dad that I just established, Keith Kachuk, was born in Massachusetts. Nice job, Michael. Nice job.
Yeah.
All right. Round 2.
Wait. Oh. I work with 2 guys from Boston.
Okay.
And just hung out with them this week. So I got that one fresh in my head.
All right. Round 2. Michael 1-0.
In relationships that these guys have, from whether it's playing at the national development program or a lot of these guys have played together in international play. There's a lot of familiarity in relationships that these guys have, from whether it's playing at the national development program or
All right.
I'm going Canadian because law. The way he said a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to say it.
Yeah, I'm going Canadian also.
That is USA coach Mike Sullivan.
Oh my God.
Who's also from Massachusetts. All right. No points awarded for that round. All right. Round 3. Ready?
That kid oozes confidence. So I thought it was a big-time player making a big-time play at a big-time moment. And that kid oozes confidence. So I thought it was a big-time player making a big-time play at a big-time moment.
Again, I'm full of self-doubt now because that sounds American, and so I want to say Canadian. Like
Well, the way he says "so" makes me go Canadian.
All right, Daniel, your guess.
I'll go Canadian too.
That is Canada coach John Cooper. Nice job. All right, 2-1, Michael.
But he's from America, so it's an American. I was waiting for that. Sorry. I was waiting for the twist.
Exactly.
I am literally waiting on the clip where
John Cooper was born in Prince George, Canada. Like I did the research to make sure I wasn't throwing anybody that's like plays for Canada and they, whatever.
I'm literally waiting on the clip where the guy says, "Yeah, we're skating pretty good out there. You know that ice. We don't have ice like that in South Mississippi." I'm waiting on you to give
polar
me
bear's toenails.
All right, I will tell you. No one that I know of that plays hockey that I've heard a lot of hockey voices last week. None of them sound like that. So, all right, round 4, 2-1 Michael's score.
I'm ready to go. It's going to be an incredible game, and I don't want to miss it, so I'll be ready to go. It feels bigger than that, so it's going to be an incredible environment, and just the lead up and the build up and everything that's come with it. I'm ready to go. It's going to be
all right.
That
Canadian
feels like
or
New York. I'm going U.S.
Yeah, I'm going to go U.S. and A also. It actually sounds like the lead actor from that movie, Miracle, the Miracle movie. Anyway, with Kurt Russell, the remake of the 1980 Miracle on Ice, USA versus Russia. That's what it made me think of. And he's American, so I'm good.
That is Team USA's Matthew Tkachuk. So points awarded for each of you. Congratulations. Brady's brother, who you just listened to.
Okay.
All right. Michael, 3-2. This could either be this could tie it up, or this could give Michael the win. Number 5. Here we go. All right, Canadian or American?
I'm going to go Canadian because I think that was after the championship.
Yeah, that's me. Canadian. That's why I wanted you to play it one more time because it sounded like it's Canadian.
All right, that is Team Canada's Connor McDavid, who had the winning goal. Widely renowned. Listen, I'm a hockey expert as of the last 7 days. Widely renowned as the best player in the world right now. So congratulations to Michael, who won 4-3. You get to stay on the podcast and continue recording with me and Daniel for the rest of this duration of the show. So congratulations.
Punishment.
Congratulations.
I'll send you some maple syrup and some cheese.
Hey, can I just say I'm actually really impressed at the research you did and how much you learned about hockey. Because coming into this episode, I did no research, and the only 2 things I know about hockey is that America won the Cold War because we beat the Russians in hockey in 1980. And number 2, Dustin Johnson is married to Paula Gretzky, who is the daughter of Wayne Gretzky, who is apparently a good hockey player. That's all I know.
Well, can I tell you, I did all this research for hockey. I will never think about hockey again. I don't know when the next hockey match. I don't even know if do they call it a match? Is it a game? I don't even know what they call it at this point.
You don't know if they're mid-season right now, if they just finished the season?
I'll be honest with you. I literally have no idea. Like, I couldn't tell you. If somebody said you were a hockey enthusiast for this First Nations All-Star thing for the last 7 days, and you know all these players, like I just told you the backstory of Brady and Matthew Tkachuk's dad, right? Told you all that. I couldn't tell you who the best team in the NHL is right now. I couldn't tell you if the playoffs start next week. I have no idea.
No clue.
Literally no idea. But for those 7 days, I was the biggest hockey fan in the continental United States of America. So
they most people who do appreciate hockey, they say it's a lot. In some ways, it's a lot like NASCAR. Like you kind of have to be there. Not that you can't enjoy it on television, but being there gives you a deeper appreciation.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anybody that likes hockey that much to even tell me about like how to experience hockey. What I will say is any sport where 9 seconds in you can drop equipment and just start throwing haymakers.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like a legitimate like team sport where you can just drop the gloves and just go at each other. I mean,
continue participating in the game. You're not going to get thrown out.
You just sit out for a couple minutes and it's like celebrated. I mean, shout out. Like I got to give respect to like these guys who are like, you know what? Like I play a sport where 9 seconds into a match, I might get punched in the face and I still choose to like come out here.
Not bad.
Not bad. All right. Well, you just saw us play a little game show of our own.
Who won?
Michael won.
Oh, yeah. Okay, just going to hear it one more time.
Yeah, Michael won. Congratulations, Michael. Your prizes are in the mail, so keep checking the mail every day. They'll be there anytime. our family are game show enthusiasts. I can say our dad especially is a mega game show enthusiast. Our dad, little known fact, we will have him on the show to break this entire journey experience down for you. I promise we will do that very soon. But my dad won a car on The Price is Right in 2005, 20 years ago. Literally went on The Price is Right, went on his birthday on their way to Hawaii with my mom on a trip. Went on his birthday, went to The Price is Right, got on the show, got down contestants row, got the bid, got up on stage, won a car. So game shows, I mean, it's kind of like in our DNA. So I want to talk a little bit about best game shows. A lot of these will be vintage game shows. Some of them are still on. Some of them are still not. Some of them, to be candid, just like my hockey knowledge, I don't know if they're still on or not, but we're going to talk about them. I want to start with like this quirky game show that I grew up on in the 80s and 90s. That, guys, during the summer, we had, how many channels do we have?
Three.
Yeah. So we got like three
Unless
channels.
we went to Grand's and then she had cable.
There you go. Yeah, Grand had cable, but we had three channels. Sometimes you could dial the antenna and you could get a few more. But one of the game shows that I love watching in the middle of the day during the summer, especially as a kid, was Press Your Luck. Now, if you've never watched Press Your Luck, the premise of the show is you have these squares and you hit a button and all of a sudden it starts going around and you hit a button and it stops. And whatever it stopped on, that's what you won. The catch was there were these things called whammies. So everybody that played Press Your Luck, they would hover their hand. No whammies, no whammies, no whammies. Stop. When it stopped on a whammy, it wiped out whatever you won. It's basically like the Wheel of Fortune's version of the bankrupt or whatever it is. This little alien would like bounce out on
and
the
it would
screen.
do like a little cartoon thing on the screen.
It was like a cartoon.
Whammy.
Yeah, it was like this cartoon thief, like little alien looking thief. And it would come out and it would steal your stuff.
In its own right. Yeah.
I loved Press Your Luck. And I, as a kid, would sit there and I would wave my hand. No waves, no waves. And I would like hit it. I was like trying to hit it for them. Stop. And I guarantee you, I would have been
past John while he's watching Press Your Luck. Get smacked in the head.
Yeah.
Press Your Luck was one of my favorites. Love Press Your Luck.
I really appreciate, John, that you think there are people who watch this podcast who are under the age of 40 and don't know what Press Your Luck is. Those are really vivid, really good description of Press Your Luck. But Mom and Dad, we know you've seen Press Your Luck. I'm sorry you had to sit through that. But I will say, do you know about the Press Your Luck scandal? That some guy in the 80s, I think his name was Michael. I don't remember much about the story.
Okay, left turn. All right, give it to us.
Figured it out.
He actually would videotape the show every day, and then he would replay it on his VCR. And while the thing was running around the screen, he would pause and practice the timing, and he memorized the pattern on the board. And then he made it on the show and won like a buku of money.
Yeah, the story is the producers backstage were like, they realized pretty quick that he had figured it out, and they were like, we have got to find a way to, because it's a system, nobody's controlling it. It's randomized, but there was a pattern there, and the producers are backstage like freaking out because this dude is going to bankrupt this whole show because he had figured it out. It's crazy. Same thing with The Price is Right.
I was about to say, I didn't know about Press Your Luck. I did know about The Price is Right, which is Ted Slauson was the guy's name. He was an elementary school teacher, just super fan. There's a documentary called Perfect Bid. Yes. And go watch that, because that's the guy who he literally I think he would come and like even I haven't watched it in a while, but I think he would come and even like sit in the studio on it. It's like he literally like memorized.
He would tell people the prices.
Yeah. And he literally
if he wasn't participating, he would tell people the prices.
But yeah, he helped, I want to say he helped 3 or 4 contestants get perfect bids on The Price is Right.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
So
my favorite shows, I say shows because I'm gonna do one will be a little bit of a throwback, but game shows it's kind of like music. There's layers out there depending on what your speed is, what your style is. Some people like the quick, press your luck type. Let me just hit a button and see what I win. You got the intellectual types, or people who think they're the intellectual types and like Jeopardy.
Wait. You just put me in the category of the guy who just wants to like the dummy, like who's over here like hammering rocks. That's where you put me.
I always make the distinction with our friends that we have friends who are board game people and we have friends who are parlor game people. I'm a parlor game person. I guess John's a parlor game person. Let me roll some dice.
No.
Daniel's like, there are people who just want to like slap a button, and then there are people who actually want to think and actually want to be intelligent.
I'm slapping that button.
I want to slap the button.
Just if the shoe fits, wear it. That's all I can say. I'm almost a grown man. I'm almost 40, so I'll say what I want on this podcast. But I will go deal or no deal. Because you just pick a case and pick a number. Like I'm super simplistic too. I like simple, basic, but really fun and exciting. What?
Wait, for the people who are not from around here, it's deal or no deal, right? Or are we talking about pickles? Or are we like? I mean, it could be a game. It could be a pickle game show. I just want to make sure.
Well,
deal or no deal.
Deal or no deal. Daniel's always looking for a deal. He got a deal on his oil change the other day.
On the next episode, we're gonna do name the Southern accent.
Yeah, we're gonna do Daniel pronounces words with multiple vowels. That's gonna be a segment.
Okay,
that's what you should do. Toss the word up and guess how many syllables it takes for me to say that word. I'll play that game.
I'll play that game. That for me.
It'll be like a weird play on Name That Tune. Okay.
Sorry, I know we're off road, but here's actually for me the test of a real Southern accent. Yeah. Do you have multiple syllables in the letter M?
M.
Because we've got friends and family members who say Elm.
Elm.
My name is Michael.
How do you spell that?
Elm?
Are we talking about trees? What are we talking about?
And what I love about that is some of them are listening to this right now. We love you very much. All right, Daniel, tell us about your game show.
Some of them are looking at each other saying, do I say it that way? Is it me?
If you're asking if you say it that way, you say it that way.
Yeah, that's right. Right. If you have to guess, or if you have to verify. But deal or no deal. All right, make sure I say that right. Howie Mandel, pick a number, win money. It's about odds and playing against the banker. That game was super fun back when it was really. I don't know how many seasons it went, like 7, 8, maybe 9, and then they tried to bring it back. It kind of didn't work. But if I have time and I'm on the Game Show Network and you get Card Sharks on there, that game is so fun to me. I don't know why it's so exciting. Maybe because I think it came out in like the late 70s.
Okay. Sorry, this is unlike Pressure Luck, which I feel like everybody should know. Card Sharks maybe a little dated for me.
I love it. I spent 5 minutes explaining Pressure Luck. Daniel's like 30 seconds on a show that no one watched. I may have watched Card Sharks like 4 times.
I'm not even going to take time to explain it. It's fun. It's the whole package. Okay. Higher, lower, higher, lower.
Here's what we'll do. If you're watching this on YouTube, or if you go to our YouTube channel, we'll link to an episode of Card Sharks just so if you want to check it out.
Card Sharks was fun, man. Card Sharks is a fun game.
I love it.
I'm dead. I'm so Daniel, I'm even asking him to explain this game and he won't do it.
Daniel's like, I'm not going to explain it. It's not even worth it. But it's one of the best game shows. It's not even worth it, but it's one of my favorite game shows. All right.
So you have no. You have. I didn't know you were asking. All I heard was John. So you have 2 people. It's usually a man and a woman. So it's kind of like battle of the sexes from the start. And they say out of 100 men or 100 women or 100 people, and then they ask some random question. And then these people go on this weird. It's because it's part of the show. They have to justify why they say, well, I think that number is going to be pretty high, or I think that number is going to be pretty low. And they give this weird kind of 10-second explanation of why, and Like it's really just it's unnecessary. But back in the 70s, they just had to come up with content, I guess. But then they flip the cards over, and you basically say, "I think the next card's going to be higher," or "I think the next card's going to be lower," or you can freeze it, and you have to make it through. You have to win so many games, and then you get to the end, and you win like a $2,000 car.
So is this a game that requires thought, or is this a slap the button game? I'm just trying to envision John, whether John would play this or not.
Higher or lower? That's it. Higher or lower.
Higher or lower.
Yeah, I would play it.
Only if you get closer to the number, or if you win the 1 out of 100 question, you get the rights to go first. Which
okay.
So, there you go.
All right. Well, I may cut all that description and just say, just go watch it. Like, this isn't even worth it. Yeah. I mean, this game is basically, it's war, right? Or golf.
War,
or what's the card game? Like, it's one of those.
War, yeah.
Just higher or lower.
Okay,
higher or lower.
Okay.
Higher or lower.
Michael, save us.
At this point in the conversation, I think we need to make a distinction. There are daytime game shows, which I believe you all are describing. And then there's primetime game shows. So I got to bring up a primetime game show, guys.
Oh, please.
And there in my world, there is no greater game show. Still to this day, we are not in the heyday of TV game shows. I don't know if you know. But in my house, we still watch Wheel of Fortune. Wheel, as we affectionately call it. At least once a week, we're watching an episode of Wheel, and Ryan Seacrest is doing okay as the new host. Pat Sajak,
I haven't watched it.
God rest his soul, but Ryan Seacrest is doing a great job.
Hold on, did Pat Sajak die?
He didn't die. He's just retired.
I think Pat Sajak is actually still alive.
Yeah, he is. He just retired. But we still watch Wheel. Now, Wheel of Fortune is a game where you got this big wheel in front of you. And then I'm just kidding, guys. I'm not going to tell you how Wheel of Fortune works.
Oh my gosh!
But I do think. Listen, I get frustrated. My kids will tell you. I get impassioned about Wheel. I get frustrated when they keep flashing back to the puzzle and then the contestants, and I'm trying to remember which letters have already been guessed. Because I think I can solve this thing, but I'm like, could you leave it on the puzzle for a minute and let me work out what's happening? We're trying to solve this at home, and so I swear, at least once an episode, I look at my kids and I'm like mad, and I'm like, this game, it's so much easier for them because they can see all the letters that have already been guessed, and they can stare at the puzzle the whole time. And so my Caroline will finish that thought for me now. She's like, I know, they can see all the letters.
But you also have to see the wheel spin. So when it ticks, and then it slowly ticks, and you hit bankrupt.
They need to leave the puzzle in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen the whole time.
I got you.
But anyway,
I have a quick question before we move on. Do you not have pause on your television, Michael? Like, why are you just stressing? Why are you having so much anxiety over not being able to see?
I am realizing,
bro.
Realizing as these words are coming out of my mouth, just how ridiculous I sound. And that there are some real simple solutions.
You can just hit pause. Is this?
But guys, hear me. There is nothing in life as satisfying as righteous indignation. You know what I'm saying? I just want that dopamine rage. I don't know if it's dopamine, but yeah.
Boy, Michael's 75 years old on the inside when he's watching Wheel of Fortune.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, do I turn 40 next week, or am I hitting 80, baby?
Michael just blacks out. He's like, can you slow down? I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what letters have been played. Can y'all just slow down for a minute?
What part? I can't even watch it. Y'all just
what darnation? This game was invented by a Canadian. I just know it. Okay.
You can take your vow. I'll tell you where you can stick it.
I'd like to buy an A. Give me an S and an S and an H and an O and an L and an E because that's what y'all are. You're just moving too daggum fast. Oh, Lord.
Well, that's the last story I share about my like when I watch on TV. Never again.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
I gotta catch my breath after that one.
Oh, me.
I'd like to buy an A and an S.
You can't. I'm sorry, sir. You can't buy an S. You can today.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna buy an H and an O and an L and an E and an S too.
Oh my god.
Okay. Whew. Back on the rails. This is why this podcast exists. We just want to work things out together. Give a platform and opportunity for you to just share.
There's nobody else in my life I can talk to about this thing. It's
so you talk to us and we record it and we put it on the internet because there's nothing more 2025 than I don't have anyone in my life I can talk to about this, so I'm just going to talk to the internet.
That's correct. That's correct.
The other one that we haven't mentioned that I loved, it did make a little bit of a comeback with Jimmy Kimmel, but Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Great show. That was not a slap a button show. Daniel, thank you very much.
No. That was prime time. That was a prime time show.
Prime time.
I can remember nights we would sit around and wait on that show. Regis Philbin hosting.
Mm-hmm.
That was a pretty intense show. That was fun.
Yep, that was good. The Newlywed Game, which is an old game, but I love the Newlywed Game mostly because you would have this couple, these couples who had been married for a hot second, and they would put them in the worst possible situations as a married couple, and they would ask them like questions. And they had my favorite part of the Newlywed Game was they had this card where they would ask a question, you'd write your answer on the card. One partner would write their answer on the card. Yep. The spouse had to guess what they answered, and then they'd turn it over, right? I think more marriages ended with that card flipping over.
Ill advised.
It's like, why are you going to put yourself in that situation? Sitting there, writing on a card, you don't know his favorite late night meal or whatever. You don't know that, but you're going to guess on television, and then he's going to flip it over or she's going to flip it over, and you're going to be wrong. And the look on the faces, it was just amazing.
I mean that. So I just got to say, like, ill-advised. If you're newlywed and you're thinking about putting yourself in any situation where you're going to get quizzed about your spouse and it's going to turn out good for you, husbands, listen to me. Don't do it. Run away.
Run.
It's one thing to be wrong and not know your wife's like favorite meal or shoes that she wears shopping or whatever. It's another thing to have that recorded to live in perpetuity for you to be wrong. Correct. Word of advice.
So I got, just one honorable mention. Family Feud. Still going strong. I mean, talk about an upgrade from a host standpoint. Like Steve Harvey taking over Family Feud. It's got to be the best thing that ever happened to that show.
Yeah.
Just amazing. I don't remember the last time I watched an episode, but just the clips on YouTube and social media. Steve Harvey he's just iconic.
Oh, he plays it. Yeah.
Steve Harvey is the best. Like Steve Harvey is the best. But do you remember the guy Richard Dawson when we were kids who would kiss everybody?
Oh my God, he kissed everybody. He kissed all the women.
Do you remember that? He would walk up and he would shake their hand and he would kiss these women right on the lips.
I do remember that.
Yeah, in the 70s and 80s, Richard Dawson. And the guy right before Steve Harvey, you know who it was? It was the guy who played Jay Peterman on Seinfeld, John O'Hurley.
Oh, yeah.
That was the host of Family Feud for like 4 years before Steve Harvey was Jay Peterman on Seinfeld. John Peterman.
Yeah.
But shout out to Steve Harvey. All right. Well, Dad won a car on The Price is Right. That car, sadly, we'll have Dad on to tell the story. We won't get into all the details today, but sadly, that car was totaled in a wreck. And so game shows and car wrecks, kind of in our DNA. What's the best car wreck story? that you have that you would like to share?
Oh, well, my best car wreck stories are you two wrecking cars, so I'll leave that at your discretion if you want to share.
Well, I mean, you can share for the people, Michael, if you want to share a story.
Well, maybe the one that you were planning on sharing.
If you want to say it, you can say it to my face right here on the internet in front of everybody.
Well, I'm still listen. I'm still a little bitter about that red Nissan sports car we had
too?
in high school. It was so nice, and John,
I saw that car coming down the pipeline to me someday.
What was it? What kind of car was it?
It was a Nissan 200SX.
200SX.
Candy apple red, sunroof, tinted windows.
Oh, that was I learned to drive a stick shift in that car.
Yep.
So nice. Yep. What happened to it, John?
1990. Well, so what happened to it is we had a curfew. I wasn't very good at curfews. I didn't understand that curfews. I didn't understand. I'll say this.
You too?
Yes, me too. I'll say this. My relationship with curfews, I felt like curfews existed to control me when curfews existed really now as a parent, I know, for my own safety. But so I didn't pay attention.
Or the safety of the car that Daniel and I were going to drive.
The curfew existed.
We're glad you're okay, but we're still tore up about that car.
Yeah, so the Nissan, that was going to be the best car I ever wrecked, the Nissan 200SX 1996, I believe. But I wrecked that car coming home too late. I was coming home.
A guy slammed on his brakes in front of me.
I was tired. A guy slammed on his brakes in front of me to turn, but I was going too fast. I was tired. I wasn't paying attention. And I slammed into the back of a truck that was stopped and ended up totaling it. So not great. The worst part of that story, by the way, I had to walk over to a house across the street because this was before the age of cell phones and everything. I had to knock on this door with these people in their pajamas and call mom and dad to come and get me. And I had to sit on the side of the road waiting on mom and dad as a teenager with looking at that candy apple red car smashed in front of me and sit there and just think about it until mom and dad got there. That was, very bad.
You cried too, right? You cried too.
We'll talk about that some other time. But it was a sad situation. Yes,
I didn't know you had to go and knock on a stranger's door and wait for mom and dad. And I can imagine at that age, like dad, that was intimidating probably. But the worst part of that was you wrecking the car that we were going to drive into town.
So our parents, shout out mom and dad, always took very good care of us. We always had everything we needed. That was probably the only nice car that they were. We're going to buy this car for our oldest son. And after that, nope. It was.
What was your next car?
The truck, wasn't it?
No, the first car was the truck. So
right.
Let's just not. I mean, we don't have to go down the list of my cars, guys. Okay, because let's just not.
I just remember them because I think I was in almost every one of them with you when we wrecked.
God,
because I was also in the Nissan 200SX when the time you wrecked it when you totaled it wasn't the first time that you had an issue with the car. It's a Saturday morning, and I think a Coke can rolled in the floorboard, and you bent down to grab said Coke can, and here I am sitting riding shotgun, and we just ride off in the ditch, and we had to walk 50 yards back to the front door to tell Dad, and he had to call a tow truck.
Hey, John, is this episode as fun as you thought it was going to be?
Well, it just I thought we would tell some fun stories. And now it's like roast John and his driving, which is fine. I can take it.
Look, I'm getting to my story.
Daniel's story. Let's save Daniel's story because, John, that's a great story. I'm going to tell mine real quick, but Daniel is a legend. I mean, it's unbelievable. But for me, it would be Mom had like a 95 or 96 Chrysler New Yorker. It was not a cool car. it was not the car I wanted to be driving. But you know what? It had 4 wheels and a motor, and I wanted to get around. And so I was driving.
Guys, folks listening, just go Google that car, that year model and that car, and just imagine a teenage boy driving that car. Just go do that.
But also, when Michael says it had 4 wheels and a motor, Mom said that was her dream car at the time. So, like,
I forgot.
I mean,
yes.
Fair point.
Okay.
So I actually borrowed Mom's car. You had graduated and moved to Canton, if I recall. So to get from where we lived in Somerville to Canton, you had to go over a big mountain. I don't remember what year this was, but you had to go through Daresville and then over a big mountain with windy roads and drop offs and whatever. So I went to hang out with you, and then I'm driving home one day, middle of the afternoon or something, and I know there was a tape deck in that car, and I know I was listening to a tape, and that tape finished, and I ejected it, and I had the case of cassette tapes next to me. I pull out the next tape, and I'm trying to put it in the tape deck to listen to the next tape. And I'm doing that, and all I remember is suddenly I'm looking up at the road, and I'm in the wrong lane, about to drive into the side of the mountain because there was a big curve, and there's a truck coming at me. And so I jerk the wheel. Well, guess what's on the other side of the road? Probably like a 30-foot drop into trees. So I'm like, I'm dead. And so then I jerk the wheel back, and I'm going around a curve and just fishtailing. And then I just slammed into the side of that mountain. And I remember hitting the side of that mountain. The car just poof lands there. And I'm like shaken up. And then the music starts playing on the tape. I was like, I got the tape. And I remember the truck that I almost ran into coming back to check on me. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So that guy gave me a ride up to Reinhardt College.
Yep.
There was a little gas station across the street in Waleska. And I called Mom, and she wound up driving all the way down there, picked me up, and she drove that busted up car that was, of course, totaled. Drove it all the way back to Somerville, and I drove her car, and I was just driving in shame, man. Like 40 minutes of shame.
That's the difference. That's the difference in moms and dads, because I'm not saying our dad per se, but dads would be like, "No, you wrecked that car. You can drive it back. You're driving it back."
That's right.
But so, in honor of my teenage daughter getting her learner's permit this past week, and we were driving her around. Yeah, way to go, Eyeball.
Go Eddie.
So I turned 16, and when I turned 15, I waited a couple of months or a few months to get my learners, because just for whatever reason. So anyway, I only say that because the first day I was able to get my driver's license was on Prom Saturday. And at the time I was dating a girl that was a couple of years older than me. So I got to go to prom as a sophomore, big whoop. And so I needed a vehicle. I needed a nice vehicle. Shout out to my Uncle David.
And wait, and we've already established we had a nice vehicle that you could have taken to prom.
Right, but he had just bought a nice vehicle. So it was, because of the newness, it was a little bit.
Yep,
so just so we say here.
Okay.
And so I get up early. The first day I can even get my license was the Saturday of prom. I think I just covered that. But I had to get up early because prom is an all-day thing. You got pictures, you got to go eat, you got to go hang out, you got to do whatever before you even get to the dance. So at 7:30 in the morning, I'm up, I'm ready to go. Go down there, take my driver's test, get my license, go straight from there over to our uncle's house. He was living in Rome at the time, or living over there on Grand's old house. And he had taken his car that this car was like, he had just bought it like a month ago. I mean, still extremely new. It's a black GMC Yukon leather seats. I can still smell the leather. Anyway, but so he cleaned it up, got it looking great. Called Dad. That's why I said you too, because I called Dad and I was like, "Hey, Dad, is there any way I can spend the night with a friend and whatever?" And he was like, "No, you need to be home at midnight." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't like that. I don't. Dad. I'm 16 now. I can drive. I'm a man, right? That's what we think when we're 16. And so, just for full transparency here, not that I even really have to say this, but I was like, there's no way I'm making it home at midnight. Like, prom doesn't even end till midnight, right? It's not even over till midnight. So to kind of wrap it up here, I start to head home about 2:30 in the morning. Okay.
It's close. You were close.
30.
Yeah.
You were almost.
so,
you were right
like-
on it, buddy. You were almost there.
You're right on it. At least you tried. You know what I'm saying?
At
I was
least
making
you
it. I was
tried.
making it.
2:30. At least you
But
tried.
rewind when I went to tell you that, or when I told you earlier that, my day started at 7:30. It's 2:30. This is the first day I've had my license. My first day
It's a long day.
driving by myself away from a responsible adult. So many factors there: borrowing a family member's vehicle, going to do the whole prom thing. Go eat, have a good time. It's now 2:30 in the morning. I'm traveling up Highway 100 to Summerville, Georgia, and your boy is getting tired. Your boy's sleepy. Your boy's nodding off. Your boy rolls down the windows. Your boy cranks the music up. But your boy is tired. Okay? TIRED. And at some point, I remember some guys on the side of the road that might have been racing that late at night. Vaguely, super vaguely remember that. But next thing I remember, I know it's so random, but I still remember that to this day. But the next thing I remember is I am waking up on the side of Highway 100, and these little pine saplings are slapping the windshield, slapping the side of the car. Okay. I don't know at this point really how fast I'm going on the side of the road. And the next thing I know, I hit the brakes.
Oh, gosh.
I turn the wheel to try to get out from hitting the little pine saplings, and the car flips over on its top. I am now suspended by my seatbelt and just hanging upside down. The only thing that's holding me there is my seatbelt, and I freak out. Like, not only internally but externally, I freak out. I start punching the release on the seatbelt, trying to get the seat, because in my mind, I'm 16. Cars explode. I've seen enough movies. This car is about to explode.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's about to be a goner for me, all because I wanted to stay out on stupid prom night. I've seen this movie before. And so I'm punching and I'm kicking the door to get out, and just like John, it's 3 a.m. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, just like John.
You don't
Okay,
gotta bring
that's
me
why I
into
said you too.
You gotta
Just
bring
like
me
John
into
is.
this.
No. The difference is John was racing home to be there by curfew. You had
No,
completely
okay,
different
but
plan.
just like John, this was
All
the age before cell phones. So it's
Okay,
3
in that
a.m.
regard.
and I'm standing there in my mind. I mean, I kind of knew where I was, but I'm in the middle of nowhere. And what am I going to do? Just start walking? Because I'm still about 3 or 4 miles from home where I was. And I'm tired. Well, I'm not
And
anymore.
you're tired.
I'm not.
Well, you know what I'm
Adrenaline is
saying?
kicking in now. I'm not tired anymore.
Okay, wait.
Yeah,
Wait, you were
I
only
was
3
at
or 4
the
miles from
Pinhoti
home?
Trailhead right there on Highway 100.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I would have walked. I wouldn't have made that phone call.
Pinhoti
Oh,
Trail,
Pinhoti? You're at
near
Pinhoti
the
Trailhead?
Silver Hill Cemetery.
I
Yeah.
would-
That's still a haul, man. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
I don't
3
know.
or 4 miles. Maybe it
Yeah,
is,
anyway.
but that's a long walk.
So luckily somebody comes, and I flag them down. Here's this 16-year-old boy in a tuxedo shirt and a bow tie hanging out, and his kind of looking like probably like James Bond, just kind of got out of a bad situation.
That is the best part because I've heard this story a lot. Just now,
Yes,
I connected the dots of you were wearing a tuxedo,
same.
flagging someone down
A
on
rental
the
for sure.
No doubt.
in
A
the
rented
middle of the
tuxedo.
night. You're wearing a rented tux in the middle of the night, flagging
And,
somebody
man.
down. the side
I
of the
flag
road.
them down. Luckily, they had a cell phone. Dial that phone number, and the only thing I can think of is, we talk about how much we love our parents, but I'm like, please, God, let Mom answer this phone. Please. I'll hang up. I'll just hang. If Dad answers the phone, I'm just going to hang up. That's just it. I'll call back tomorrow. I'll say wrong number and I'll call back tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to do if Dad answers this phone because I'm dead. I'm DEAD. I don't know how many syllables it may take me to say dead, but I'm dead. Okay. And so Mom answers the phone.
Oh, God.
I tell her I've been in a wreck, and she said, "Where are you?" And I'm just like, "Just get on Highway 100 and just drive. You'll find me." Yeah, because I didn't want to. Okay, just like every other teenage kid, you just try to disassociate. Like I don't want to sit here and talk on the phone because I'm freaking out.
Just
you'll
get on the
see us.
highway and drive. I'll be there somewhere.
You said, I'll hang up. I'll call back tomorrow. Go back tomorrow.
Sorry, wrong number. And the only thing, man, so many life lessons were learned that night. I still, to this day, I'm not going to try to even pretend that I made it home any other time after that night. But still, I still think about that day a lot. And I just remember being on the side of the road, and that's why I asked if you were crying, John, because I'm crying my eyes out till Mom and Dad get there. And then when Mom and Dad get there, I'm really crying my eyes out. And then the only thing, Dad just comes over, he's talking to the trooper, and Dad comes over and he's like, "Get in the car." And I don't mean that like in a mean way, but just in a very, I'm a dad now. So in a very dadly way, it's like, hey, this is not the time or place. Just get in the car.
And to be fair, it's 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, he's got to preach in 6 hours,
20 minutes ago,
7 hours. So and hear it, and all the other, I told you to be home at midnight. This is why you should have been home at midnight. Yeah, all those dad things. I totally get it. And I'll never forget those.
But also, you're a mess. So it's like, keep it crisp.
Nope.
Not the time to process it. Like,
Nope.
you need a very clear instruction
that's what I tell
that
my
you can
kids. There's
process and follow.
negotiables and there's non-negotiables. Sometimes there's a time to talk it out, and we can talk it out. And sometimes I open my mouth. That's what it is. Well, that was for sure that time. But just to as funny as some parts of that story is, that was one of the most horrible times of my life. Because then my Uncle David, I have to call him. Kudos to Mom and Dad. They were like, "Hey, you wrecked it, so you're going to call him today, and you're going to be the one to tell him. We're not calling him for you. You're going to call him. You're going to tell him." So that was pretty. I don't want to say necessarily traumatic, but I did grow up a little bit making that phone call.
No,
and then probably Dad takes my license. He took my AOL password. Throwback. Those of you who even know what AOL dial-up internet is.
Okay, I was joking about Michael acting like a 75-year-old, but the more I hear us talk, we might actually be 75.
I think we're close.
He took my AOL pass. That was kind of my punishment. I couldn't drive. And 2 weeks later, I think I wrote him a note, and I was like, apologizing. And I'm like, because I had trouble. I still have trouble to this day, kind of verbalizing my feelings, verbalizing some of my emotions. But especially as a 16-year-old kid, that's just, it didn't really matter who your parents were. You just had trouble verbalizing that stuff. So I wrote it down and I left a note for him. And then a couple of days later, he came in and it was a very emotional moment. We had a good moment. And he was like, he started crying. I'm crying. And he's like, you just scare me. Like that's kind of, dads not what, dads aren't the best at conveying their emotions either. And I'm not saying he wasn't, but just in that moment, he was crying. I was crying. It was a good kind of a connecting moment. And that's kind of all he said. He was like, you just scared me. And I was like, so looking back on that, 23 years later, I'm like, I totally get it. Totally. 100% get it.
At what point did it, because I know that your process like that happens and then the realization comes in waves. At what point in that process did you have the moment of like, oh no, this is Uncle David's truck?
I'll be totally honest with you. It wasn't until Mom and Dad basically said, "Hey, you're making this phone call." Like I knew it, but moms and dads have ways of making us do things or encouraging us to do things that mature us a little bit. And so at that point in my life, it was kind of like, well, maybe Mom or Dad will call him and kind of smooth it over. And I'm not thinking they will, but I'm just thinking like that's probably my thought process there. But when Mom and Dad were like, "Hey, you wrecked it, you're calling him," and then it was like, "Oh crap!" Like, okay, now it's pretty, it's pretty real.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to Uncle David.
Well, shout out to Uncle David.
He hadn't called me Crash in a while, but it took him about 20 years to quit calling me Crash.
Yeah. Well, I'm just impressed. We still see him. I see him every other Thanksgiving or every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, and he still talks to us even after that. That was a nice. Yukon. Was it Tahoe?
That's a higher grade than a Tahoe.
Yukon, right?
It was beautiful.
Beautiful.
It was very nice. Well, the lesson is this is why we can't have nice things, boys.
That's right. That's right.
But
Dano, you could have been driving a 1995 Chrysler New Yorker to Prom.
Let me tell you something. I could dissect that entire story. If you go back, I don't know if he's still got the pictures, but if you go back and look at those pictures, the entire roof of that Yukon was caved in except for the driver's side. So take from that what you will. That's a true story.
Wow.
Well, I'm glad you're okay. Glad you learned some lessons. I will, for the rest of time now that I've connected the dots here, I will visualize you in a tuxedo.
Oh my God.
Still look good.
That's the best part of that story.
I love you said like James Bond getting out of a crazy situation.
No, sorry. The best part of that story is still please let it be Mom. Please let it be Mom. I will hang up.
I will call back tomorrow. All right. Well, Daniel, so you're turning 40. By the time some folks listen to this, you will have turned 40. You're turning 40 next week. So many things happen as you start to get older that it just opens up a new world of freedom. So embrace it, lean into it, but don't lean too hard into it because you will be down in your back for a few days. If you lean into turning 40 a little too much, you're going to be hurting for a while. So
that reminds me. Thank you. Yes, my only advice for turning 40 is it's never been more important that you lift with your legs. Not with your
body mechanics.
It's never been more important.
Your legs. All right, y'all. Well, we'll be back at some point in the next week or so. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, and we will see y'all next time.